Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. We are back once again. Hello, everybody. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper, and this is the Happy Camper Radio Show. Hope you're all having a wonderful week. Running a little bit behind today and getting the show published, but it happens that way sometimes. And right now, especially this time of year, as we get closer and closer to the holidays, a lot of us got a lot of running around to do, and I'm no different than anybody else. I am flying solo today. Daniel is out delivering the mail. He is delivering packages as we talk on quite a few occasions here on the show. Daniel is a mail carrier, and this time of the year, he is delivering a lot of those holiday packages, and there are a lot of folks on his mail route that are counting on him. We knew that there was going to be a time or two this part of the year where Daniel was just not going to be around, but we look forward to having him back next week. In the meantime, we've got a great show lined up for you. I think you're going to enjoy it today. Our phone number here at the Happy Camper Radio Show is 404-537-CAMP. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. Of course, you can access any one of our social media sites very simply by going to our homepage, which is www.happycamperradio.com. And now you can also find us on YouTube. Yes, we now have our very own YouTube channel. We have about, I would say 40 more episodes to upload, and then we're going to have all of our shows there available for you from start to finish. You can pick up the very first show, you can pick up the very last show. But right now, we've got most of the latest episodes online. Just go to youtube.com and punch Happy Camper Radio in the search engine, and you'll find us right there. More details on that ahead. Right now, we have some shout-outs we want to pass along. These are some newcomers who came aboard this past couple weeks. We want to say hello to Ray Robin, who likes us on Facebook, to Melinda Crow in Texas, Tanya Prater in Mansfield, Ohio, John Williams from Brussels Wells, Charminox, My House Has Wheels in South Florida, I like that, Susan Woodward of Tucson, Arizona, and Stephen Hayes of Brisbane, Australia. They're all following us on Twitter. Also want to say hello to Carly Crosley of Queensland, Australia, Charles Bohill of Bloomington, Illinois, and Cypress Trail RV Resort in Fort Myers, Florida. Thank you all so very much for joining us and being a part of this great Happy Camper Radio family. Hey, would you like to be a guest on our show? Daniel and I would love to talk with you. Just email us, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com or Daniel at happycamperradio.com. Let us know what you'd like to talk about. Anything in the world of camping is up for grabs. Sign up for a Google Plus account if you don't already have one. You can also get a Skype account. Both of them are free. And if you sign up for Google Plus, make sure that you add Happy Camper Radio to your circles, because every now and then, Daniel and I, when we decide to have guests on the show, we'll be sending out random invitations. And if you get one of them, we would love to have you on our program. We have a very interesting subject matter that we're going to talk about today. In fact, we've talked about this before in the early part of 2014. How many of you are all ready for winter? Have you winterized your vehicle? Just as important as winterizing your RV, which you probably have parked somewhere, whether at the side of your home or maybe you have it parked in a storage facility, you want to winterize that to make sure that nothing bad is going to happen when you come to get it in the spring and you fire it back up and you check all the tanks and you check everything. You want to make sure everything is working right. You want to make sure that none of the bad temperatures, the freezing temperatures, had any effects on the pipes or anything like that. And you definitely want to follow all manufacturers' recommendations. However, when we prepare our vehicle for a winter weather journey, let's just say we're going to grandma's and granddad's house this coming Christmas. They may live across town. They may live across the state. Are you ready for that road trip? Is your vehicle ready for that road trip? We're going to talk about getting prepared today. And it's really, really important because I don't know about you, but myself, I do pay careful attention to a lot of recent events that may be going on, maybe not around me, but elsewhere. Let's take a look at some of the things that happened recently, some weather-changing events that did affect people's lives. How many of you are familiar with the winter storm that blanketed Buffalo, New York back here in mid-November? It laid heavy snowfalls all across the city, shut down many businesses, roads were impassable, motorists were stranded in their vehicle, and I know what that's all about. They had nowhere to go. Now, it struck a nerve with me because I was in Buffalo, New York no more than 2 months ago. I was up there for a brief workshop that I was attending. I flew in on a Friday and I flew out on a Sunday morning. It's a lovely city. I enjoyed it. I wish I had more time to spend, but I definitely would not want to have been in Buffalo, New York when that storm struck, because there's no telling where I would have called home, probably for the next several days or maybe even a week or two. The hotel was wonderful. I wouldn't want to be holed up in a hotel for an awful long period of time while the airports were closed, and I definitely would not want to be camping out in a vehicle, a taxi cab, or even at the airport. Have you ever slept at an airport before? I have not. I don't want to. But you stop and think about this for a moment. There are a lot of folks that are going to be flying out to certain destinations over the next couple days, and some of them will be flying out maybe on the 23rd or 24th of December, just a couple days before Christmas, hoping to be there with loved ones and open up Christmas gifts. And sadly, they're not going to make it because flights are going to be canceled. Weather will be moving in. It happens every year. And some people are camping out at the airports. They're at the terminals. They're in the hallways. They've got luggage, a lot of carry-on luggage today because nobody wants to pay those enormous baggage fees. So they're bringing small amounts of luggage with them, and they're using them as pillows. Who wants to do that? So, yeah, it can happen. But Buffalo, New York, yes, it got hammered there a little while back. Let's take a look at what's happening now out in Southern California. Have you been following the storms out there? We're talking massive rains, floods, blackouts. They have a situation which they call the Pineapple Express. That's the first I'm hearing that. But that's apparently what they've labeled it. Poor weather conditioning has brought traffic nightmares all over the place. There's been landslides. We're talking homes moved from their foundations. I have watched this on TV, and I saw this one beautiful home just crumbled up and like a set of matchsticks, and it fell into the passing waters. Think about this. It may not happen to you. You never know when and if it will. But right now, here are some families who are going to be staying in hotels at Christmas. Maybe they are in shelters. I don't know. They might be staying with friends and loved ones. But there's nothing better than spending time in your own home, in your comfortable surroundings on Christmas or any other time of the year for that matter. And who really wants to spend it in a hotel? Nobody does. I wouldn't want this to happen to anybody. I wouldn't want it to happen to me, and I wouldn't want it to happen to you. But those things do happen. The problem is far too many people are unprepared for these kind of events. How many of you remember the episode we did back in early January? Oh, I was on my bandwagon back then. We did an episode, in fact, it's episode number 45. It's an hour long if you want to go back and take a listen to it. This was one of those days when I knew there was going to be some snow falling in the metro Atlanta area. We were expecting, I think, maybe 1, maybe 2 inches of snow. You may live in an environment, say maybe out in the Midwest, maybe up in the Northeast, and that's where I'm from in Pittsburgh. I traveled down here to the South several years ago, and I know what weather is like. I know what winters are like up there. When I talk about 2 inches of snow here in the South, you folks up there are laughing like crazy. Because, I mean, that's just an every year occurrence for you folks. But a half an inch of snow here in the South will shut down the city. People panic. People are not used to that. People are not used to driving in those type of conditions. But I will never forget, back on January 28th of 2014, it was one of those nights when I was unexpectedly stranded in my vehicle. I had gotten up for work. Around 8:30, I decided I was going to go in a little bit early that night because I knew the snow was moving in. I knew the cold temperatures were moving in, and I wanted to allow myself adequate time to get to work. Now, I'm a night owl. Keep in mind, I prowl by night and I sleep by day, so I wasn't quite aware of what was going on. Anyway, I did get up, and I packed my lunch. I loaded my cooler up with all kind of neat goodies. I had my little jug, my 1-gallon jug of fruit juice, which I carry with me loyally every single night. And when I left the house, I had not a clue that it was going to be worse than anyone ever expected. The snow and the freezing temperatures wreaked havoc on this city. Motorists were trapped in their vehicles for hours, days, and a lot of these folks, believe it or not, and I did not know anything about this. I really wasn't paying attention on the radio on the way into work, but I was traveling against the flow of traffic, so it really wasn't too bad for me. But there was a traffic nightmare coming out of town, and at the time, I did not know at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, I am looking at rush hour traffic from 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's how soon the bad weather moved in, and folks were trapped in their vehicles. Nowhere to go. We had kids that were trapped on school buses. That's a nightmare for any parent who has young kids. There were so many bus drivers who were picking up the phone and calling up parents and telling them, yes, we've got your kids. They're here on the school bus. We're stuck on the interstate. We can't go anywhere. And the parents couldn't get out to get them because they were trapped in their own homes. You had teachers and students, some of which were trapped in schools for days. Kids were sleeping on gym mats in the gymnasium. Fortunately, the school cafeteria was well stocked, and they had plenty of food, so the kids got fed. But you had teachers and principals and other administrators at the school who were spending time with their students because the students couldn't get on a bus and they couldn't get home. For folks who were trapped in their vehicles, police, fire, and EMS had difficulties getting around. They had in situations where people required medical attention and the medical workers couldn't get to them because they couldn't get around the traffic nightmare. But one of the worst nightmares of all was the fact that the state government was unprepared. They failed to send out adequate notifications and alert people timely that bad weather was moving in. Is this government any different from yours? I don't think so. Government is government. We'd like to say, hey, they've been on the ball and they're going to get it right each and every time. But what's going to happen that one time they don't? If people were alerted ahead of time, if they were able to get out of town, if they were able to leave work early, if schools were able to close early, and students were able to get home before the nasty weather moved in. And yes, I mean, there may have only been 1 or 2 inches of snow, maybe 3 inches. I don't remember back that far. But we had rain and freezing temperatures, and you know what that does to roads. Especially when you don't have snow plows going around and plowing the roads. You don't have salt trucks. You don't have sand trucks. You don't have anybody treating these roads, and you've got all these vehicles out here driving around on a sheet of ice. Being forced to camp overnight in your vehicle could happen to you. Don't think it won't. It happened to me. Every vehicle that you drive should have an emergency weather kit inside. Not very costly to put together. It's very easy to create and very inexpensive. And I want to touch a little bit on that today here on the show while we have a little bit of time. And the way to do that, first of all, if you haven't already done it, and I'm just as guilty of this as anybody else, there comes that time of the year when you want to clean out the trunk of your vehicle. How much stuff are you carrying around that really has another home, and you have not gotten around to taking these items out of your vehicle? Now would be a great time to do that. Clean out the trunk of your car. Get rid of all the garbage that you have been carrying all year long, and you're going to have adequate space for some of the important things that you may or may not need, but you have the space available to go ahead and put these items in there. You don't want to be caught off guard. Fortunately for me, I've got to say, when I traveled to work that night on January 28th of 2014, I was well packed. I was well prepared. I had a full tank of gas. My truck was running. I was able to get around. I only was about 3 miles from work when I had to pull off to the side of the road because the interstate was a sheet of ice. Nobody could drive on it, and everybody was pulled off to the side. I had plenty of food. I was stuck in my vehicle for 8 hours before I was finally able to move ahead those last 3 miles down the road and get to my destination. And even then, I didn't get home for the next couple days. Fortunately, I had somebody here at the house who was able to take care of the pets, and there was no worries there. And the folks at work were fantastic. I mean, they made it a point to send out for food. Everybody got fed. They had a place to put us up for the night. Companies like that are just great that when they take care of their people in the time of need. But I can think of a lot of the folks who were stranded out there on the interstate with me that weren't prepared. They had no food. They had no water. Some of them, their vehicles died, maybe because they ran out of gas. Some people got flat tires because they were spinning in the ice and they wore out their tread, and next thing you know, they've got a flat tire. Maybe they didn't have a spare tire. It was too cold to go out and change it. So, these nightmares kept piling up for some people. Myself, on the other hand, when I was going in, I had a full lunchbox. I had plenty of food. I had plenty of drink. And I stayed off to the side of the road. I was relaxed. I got out every now and then because I felt it was safe for me to do so. Everybody was parked. There was no oncoming traffic or no traffic going inbound because nobody could get by. And I just lived with it. But there were some people that, they couldn't get home. They had nothing to eat, nothing to drink. They were miserable. There were so many people that were counting on them to be home and they couldn't get there. But these things can happen, folks, and they can happen to you. So take the time to be prepared. If you're going to clean out the garbage in your vehicle, and I shouldn't say, if you need to clean out the belongings in your vehicle, let's say it a little more respectfully here. All right, you're going to open up all kind of new space in the trunk of your vehicle. This would also be a great time to check your spare tire and your jack. How long ago was it when you checked the spare tire to make sure you had adequate air in it? In the event you got a flat tire, the last thing you need is to change your flat tire only to find out your spare is flat too. We don't think about these things sometimes until we really need to. Let me tell you some must-haves. First of all, a flashlight and spare batteries. You'll be surprised how many people don't have an operable flashlight in their vehicle. Now's the time to get one if you don't own one. And make sure you get a pack of spare batteries because you never know, they run out too. A set of jumper cables. I carry jumper cables everywhere I go. Maybe I will need a jump sometime. And you'll be surprised at the number of people around you who are willing to help, who want to help. And maybe they are in a position to offer you that jump, but they don't have jumper cables. If you don't have a set of jumper cables, your car's not going to get jumped. You're not going to go anywhere. So get a set of jumper cables for your vehicle and keep them in the trunk of your car, along with your spare tire and your jack. Do you carry a tire pressure gauge with you? Buy one and stick it in your glove box because you never know when you're going to need that. I know there are some gas stations that you pull into today and you put 75 cents to $1 in the little machine there, and you pull out the hose and it has a little gauge attached to it. Say, well, I'm going to use that one. I'm not going to worry about buying another one. Tire pressure gauges don't cost a whole lot of cash, so definitely get yourself one of those. Do you have a cell phone charger in your vehicle, whether already plugged into your cigarette lighter or in your glove box? Last year, you'd be surprised how many people did not carry a cell phone charger in their vehicle. Individuals who were trapped on the road, who couldn't get around, and their cell phones ran out. They lost contact with their loved ones. There were so many people that were wondering where their husbands were. They were on their way home from work. They knew their battery was running low. Then they tried calling them again. There was no answer. That's a terrible thought. Get yourself a cell phone charger so you can go ahead and charge your cell phone while you are sitting there in your vehicle, waiting for the weather to clear, waiting for the traffic to begin moving forward. You need a cell phone charger. Everybody carries a cell phone these days. We know that. Something else you might want to do. In the event the weather gets ugly to the point where you have to turn off your vehicle, let's say you run out of gas, and there was a lot of folks who ran out of gas last year because they didn't have a whole lot of gas in their tanks. And with the freezing temperatures moving in, they stayed in their vehicles and they kept the engines running until the gas tank ran dry. You're going to want to have something in there, maybe an extra winter coat, maybe a heavy blanket. Hey, we're campers. Let's toss a sleeping bag in there. You now have room in the trunk of your car. But you want to have something to help keep you warm in the event you run into one of those situations where you no longer have any heat and you've got to stay warm. That's why a full tank of gas is important this time of year. A lot of folks don't fill their tank. There are some folks that maybe put in $5, $10 at a time, maybe just to get them to their next destination. Well, if you don't get to your next destination, you're going to have a problem. So if you can anyway keep your tank full of gas this time of year, you definitely want to do that. Have you checked your vehicle's cooling system lately? Check your antifreeze. If your radio doesn't work, carry a portable one. Yes, there's some people out there who don't have radios in their vehicle. I was one of them at one time. And I never thought that if I was going to be in one of these situations, would a portable radio help me out? It sure would have. It would keep you in touch with the outside world and let you know what's going on. Make sure your vehicle is well-tuned this time of year. Get it serviced. If you have an emergency kit, fantastic. If not one, you can. If you don't have one, now you can put one together. Here's some of the things you want to have in it. Unless you're like me, who constantly carries food around with you, I don't really go anywhere unless I'm on my way to a campground or I'm on my way to work. But some things you're going to want to have in your emergency kit in case you are stranded at the side of the road for quite some time. Some bottled water. You definitely want to stay hydrated. Put a whole case in the trunk of your vehicle. Get some handy wipes, some Kleenex, some paper towels and napkins. Also some high-protein snacks, and replace these often. You don't want some snacks in the trunk of your vehicle that have been there for 3 or 4 years. So swap them out. If it looks like it's going to be time to replace them, you might want to go ahead and consume them at that time, but definitely put some fresh snacks in your emergency kit in case you need them. For those of you new to camping, consider getting a space blanket. They're a couple bucks. If you don't know what a space blanket is, it's a large aluminum-sized sleeping bag that you can purchase locally in your department store or camping supply store, and it comes all neatly wrapped up in this wee little package. You can even put it in your pocket. It's that small. But if you have to climb in that to prevent hypothermia, it's going to be available to you. Put that in your emergency kit as well. Also, if you don't have a first aid kit in your vehicle, you need one of them as well. It doesn't take a whole lot to put an emergency kit together. You think about that. Think about some of the things you're going to need, some of the things that you might want to consider in the event you get stranded at the side of the road. Maybe some things I haven't even mentioned here that you think might do you some good. All you have to do is put yourself in that mindset. Think about what you would do If you were trapped in all of that traffic and you had nowhere to go, you're definitely going to want to stay warm and you're going to run your engine to keep warm. If you do that, definitely by all means, keep a window slightly opened. Let's talk about the use of portable propane heaters, tent heaters. Would you want to use them in your vehicle? I don't think so. In fact, read the instructions very thoroughly if you do have a small portable tent heater. I know what you may be thinking. Well, if my gas tank runs dry, if my car breaks down and I'm stuck and the temperatures outside are like 20 or 30 degrees and I don't want to freeze to death, if I carry one of these portable propane heaters in the trunk of my car, will I be okay? Well, you might be okay, but it might not be a safe thing for you to do. So if you have a portable propane heater, by all means, read the instructions thoroughly because they do require proper ventilation. They may not be recommended for use in vehicles or in confined spaces. If you become stranded, call for help immediately. Have important numbers handy. Have them in your cell phone's phone book. Keep a separate phone book inside your vehicle if you need to. Avoid calling 911 unless it's an absolute emergency. If there is a non-emergency number for 911, you can call that, but keep this in mind. Emergency operators are going to have their hands full. They're going to be taking a lot of calls from people who are just as concerned as you are. If possible, see if someone has a four-wheel drive vehicle that they can come get you. Consider becoming a member of AAA, but I want you to keep this in mind too. A lot of people are going to be calling the AAA anytime we have storms like this because you're not going to be the only one that's stuck. In severe weather, it may be hours before they get to you. And also consider this too. Before abandoning your vehicle, consider the conditions. Where are you stranded at? If you're in the middle of a highway, that might not be a good place for you to abandon your vehicle and go home. Because what if traffic starts moving again? Your car is sitting idle. Now someone's going to have to come out and tow you so they can make the roads passable. Just like prepping your RV for winter, you need to do the same thing for your vehicle. Again, sit back and think of a number of possible scenarios and how you would handle each and every one of them. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. I found a campground locally in this area. If you're from the state of Georgia, you might be familiar with this area. It's on Lake Sidney Lanier, and it's the Boating Mill Campground, and it's located in northeast Georgia. Boating Mill Campground is an excellent choice for camping on Lake Lanier, offering plenty of comfortable amenities in addition to a well-kept facility. Lake Lanier spans over 38,000 acres in 5 counties in northern Georgia. The reservoir is known for its aqua blue coloring and spectacular scenery in the forested foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. They have a large swimming beach, not this time of year, though, because it's quite chilly outside. You don't want to go swimming in Lake Sidney Lanier this time of the year, but I guarantee you during the summer months, you will love it. They have an on-site boat ramp. Boating is a very popular activity on the lake. And the Boating Mill Campground is also connected to several hiking trails for plenty of opportunities for visitors to enjoy the scenery and bird watch. I love that. Anytime I can get around wildlife, I am going to be perfect. I am going to be in awe. That's what I enjoy doing. Plenty of activities and amenities for you to see and take advantage of while at this campground. They're all located right there on their website, and it's going to be available on our homepage all week long under the featured campground section. It's the Boating Mill Campground in Georgia, and it is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like Daniel and I to feature on the program, by all means, get in touch with us. You can start by emailing me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com, or Daniel at happycamperradio.com. Make sure you include a link to the campground website when you get in touch with us. We've got some great interviews coming up here in the weeks ahead, so stick around for those. Right now, I am going to get back to my television set, my recliner, and the Christmas tree downstairs in the living room because I am really, really into the festive spirit. We've got one more show lined up here for you before we call it quits for 2014, but some great episodes are ahead in the next year forthcoming. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. And no question about it, my friends, you can be a happy camper too. We'll catch you next week. This is Happy Camper Radio. Bye-bye, everybody.